live on TikTok. Activate the TikTok powers. Alright, give me a moment to get the chats linked. Hey Jan, did you get to see you? I can't get into Minecraft today because my Microsoft account is giving me some issues. Remember with the boobs, so we're just going to be at my home screensaver, I guess. I don't really have a nice looking game alternative. I don't think Dark and Darker would be very visually pleasant for this. Hey Matt, how you doing? Cool, let me get this. Still kind of dealing with a bit of carpal tunnel, so trying to take it easy on my wrist. Pay toward Big Eggs, Brushy, Snootsy, hope you're doing well. Alright, there's one more thing I needed. What was it? Guess you don't know. Slipped my mind. Oh, yeah, no. I just remembered. There we go. All right, now everything's good to go. Paytor hugs, Brushy, Snootsy. Hope you're doing well. Okay. I have quite a few references today. I've been reading through the book of 1 Samuel, and it's got a lot. There's a lot of material in this book, so we've got quite a bit to talk about. But I suppose I'll give a little bit more time for people to catch up here before we begin. So just to update on things, yes, I'm going to be doing this stream just from my, you know, like my home screen, like here. Because I can't really log into my Microsoft account now for some reason, so I'm not able to get into Minecraft, so the stream's going to look a little bit different. You're doing good. What about the small blue water kobold crocodile? Big blue ice dragon. Napa Brushy Burger. I'm good, thank God. I'm very blessed. The other update I'd like to say is, yeah, things didn't quite work out with the writer. But that's okay. I've kind of gotten back into the rhythm and routine of doing it myself. And I've been getting a VOD done a day, which is kind of insane, honestly. So today I'm working on VOD 8 out of 11. So yeah, I mean, most of it has been done on my end. It still has to be processed by the rest of the team. But we do have a really nice workflow set up for that. That's speeding things up. So I think as long as I do my part, in general, things should go pretty quickly. Do you think it look better with the description on the right and the cross being seen instead of behind? It could, but then I'd have to move my cam, I guess. I kind of thought this would be good because my cam is on the right. But I do see what you're saying. I mean, if I do this, yeah, then it kind of covers the scripture, so I'd have to move the cam. I don't know, and then there's all the desktop icons. It's also clutter as well. I think I'll just leave it here for now. It's only for today. It's not like we're normally going to do this. But yeah, I get you. So, yeah, so I'm handling the writing now, and things are moving. Thank God I've been able to maintain one VOD completed a day, which is good. So if I maintain that pace, which I believe I will, God willing, today I'll finish 8, Monday 9, Tuesday 10, Wednesday 11. And that's it. Wednesday it's done on my end. I guess I'll still have to write the intro, but aside from that, I'm basically done. And then it's just like clean up like whatever Emerald tells me to adjust. We get the vid out there and then we're ready for Deltarune Chapter 5. We're doing Pragmata on stream. And I do probably need to off-stream fix my Deltarune playthroughs as quickly as possible. I say playthroughs because Pacifist and Weird Route. And then when all's good to go, we'll be ready for Chapter 5's release. And hopefully I can tear through those VODs very quickly, just like I've been tearing through these. You got this. May God help and bless you. Thank you, Dream. Right back at you and your family. That's the plan. Now, what's the catch? The catch is I'm basically working like all day. I mean, I might take breathers here and there to like look at some stuff online. It's usually darker stuff because I really do enjoy the game quite a bit. But for the most part, I'm basically working all day from when I like wake up and do my morning routine till late at night, and then basically before bed I get to play a little bit and then I go to bed. So it's a lot of work, but you know, thank God at least we have something that we can do. You know, we have a solution. For the longest time, I really thought I couldn't do it. The reality, I suppose, is I can. It's just very hard, but I can. I can do it, and I can maintain it. I really believe I can maintain it. So that's what we're gonna do. As nice as it would be to have a writer, I don't need one. I can do it myself. So we might actually have everything we need. Now we just gotta get it done. Definitely use things a bit rough. I gotta give myself all work out in the end of the way. It'll work out. It'll work out. Big X Darth Monkey. All right, I think that's enough time. Let's hydrate and let's read. All right, we're going to start from the beginning. 1 Samuel chapter 1. I have a couple references in this chapter and then one in the next chapter. So 1 Samuel 1, 9 through 11. Obviously, based off the name of the book, this book is about Samuel, but it's not just about Samuel. But it is like primarily about Samuel, at least initially. So here's the story of Samuel's origin. Once when they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh, Hannah stood up. You know, maybe I should back up a little bit. You might need some context. There was a certain man from Ramathaim, a Zuphite from the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. He had 2 wives. One was called Hannah, and the other Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had none. Year after year, this man went up from his town to worship and sacrifice to the Lord Almighty at Shiloh, where Hophni and Phinehas, the 2 sons of Eli, were priests of the Lord. Whenever the day came for Elkanah to sacrifice, he would give portions of the meat to his wife Peninnah and to all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah he gave a double portion because he loved her, and the Lord had closed her womb. Because the Lord had closed Hannah's womb, her rival kept provoking her in order to irritate her. This went on year after year. Whenever Hannah went up to the house of the Lord, her rival provoked her till she wept and would not eat. Her husband Elkanah would say to her, Hannah, why are you weeping? Why don't you eat? Why are you downhearted? Don't I mean more to you than 10 sons? So, what's going on here? This guy has 2 wives. One of them is able to bear children and actually has bore 10 children. And, you know, maybe this might not be like a huge deal nowadays, but back then, you know, having kids was a big deal. Like, if the woman wasn't able to have children, it was devastating. It was really, really bad. So you have this other wife who's not able to have any kids, so she's really depressed about it. But the husband still loves her, even though she's not able to have children. But the other wife was provoking her. Like, she was mocking her, being mean to her, whatever. It just is provoking her. We don't know the exact details. So she was really depressed about it. She was crying about it. She wouldn't eat. So what happens next? Once when they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh, Hannah stood up. Now Eli the priest was sitting on his chair by the doorpost of the Lord's house. In her deep anguish, Hannah prayed to the Lord, weeping bitterly. And she made a vow, saying, Lord Almighty, if you will only look on your servant's misery and remember me and not forget your servant, but give her a son, then I will give him to the Lord for all the days of his life, and no razor will ever be used on his head. So that's a pretty big commitment. She's never been able to have a son. She's depressed about it. She's like, God, if you give me a son, like, I will give him to you, basically, is what she's saying. Let me check. And then, I mean, that's the gist of it, so we can go down here. When her husband Elkanah went up with all his family to offer the annual sacrifice to the Lord and to fulfill his vow, Hannah did not go. She said to her husband, after the boys... Wait, why did my reference skip so far ahead? We should read this. Yeah. Early the next morning, they arose and worshipped before the Lord and went back to their home at Ramah. Elkanah made love to his wife Hannah, and the Lord remembered her. So in the course of time, Hannah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, saying, because I asked the Lord for him. Okay, so God answers her prayer, opens her womb. She's able to have a son named, and she names him Samuel. Does she keep her end of the bargain? So when her husband Elkanah went up with all his family to offer the annual sacrifice to the Lord and to fulfill his vow, Hannah did not go. She said to her husband, after the boy is weaned, I will take him and present him before the Lord, and he will live there always. Do what seems best to you, her husband Elkanah told her. Stay here until you have weaned him. Only may the Lord make good his word. So the woman stayed at home and nursed her son until she had weaned him. After he was weaned, she took the boy with her, young as he was, along with her 3-year-old bull, an ephah of flour, and a skin of wine, and brought him to the house of the Lord at Shiloh. When the bull had been sacrificed, they brought the boy to Eli. That was the high priest at the time. And she said to him, "Pardon me, my lord, as surely as you live, I am the woman who stood here beside you praying to the Lord. I prayed for this child, and the Lord has granted me what I asked of him. So now I give him to the Lord. For his whole life he will be given over to the Lord," and he worshiped the Lord there. So the reason why I made note of this and why this is critical, I'm not saying the moral of the story is, oh, if there's something you really want, you didn't get it, make a vow to the Lord and you get. No, that's not the point. In fact, we talked a lot about you really shouldn't be making vows. The point of this is she is the second wife. Like, she shares this husband with another wife. The other wife has been really, really rude and cruel to her, that wife has been able to have 10 sons, and she herself can't have any children whatsoever. And then finally she has a son after she makes this vow to God. So then there's this temptation, like, oh, well, you know, I only have one. The other wife has like 10, you know? I mean, God knows my heart. Like, I thank you, God, for giving me the son, but he's all I have. Like, I can't give him up. Like, you never want to have this mentality. Like, first off, in the context of it being a vow, you make a vow, you fulfill it. You shouldn't be making vows anyway to God, but if you make one, you dang well better fulfill it. And she does. She doesn't hesitate. She doesn't hold back whatsoever. She does exactly what she's supposed to do. So when God expects something from you, you absolutely must give it, no matter how painful or uncomfortable it must be. And I believe the story closes out in one other line. Yes, if we go to here. But Samuel was ministering before the Lord. I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I want to finish this thought before we get to the other. But Samuel was ministering before the Lord, a boy wearing a linen ephod. Each year his mother made him a little robe and took it to him when she went up with her husband to offer the annual sacrifice. Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife, saying, "May the Lord give you children by this woman to take the place of the one she prayed for and gave to the Lord." Then they would go home. And the Lord was gracious to Hannah. She gave birth to 3 sons and 2 daughters. Meanwhile, the boy Samuel grew up in the presence of the Lord. Thankfully, we don't know what would have happened if she decided to fail to complete this vow and keep the son for herself out of desperation. She fulfilled what she was supposed to do. And what did God do? God blessed her with even 3 more sons and 2 daughters, which is way more than she would have gotten if she decided to clutch onto Samuel and keep him for herself. So whenever you're supposed to give something to God, give it. Don't hesitate. Don't go halfway. No, go all in. Do what you're supposed to do. Don't hold back. Not for the sake of the reward. That's God's grace. That's up to Him. But because it's what you're supposed to do. And there are consequences if you don't do these things. All right, now we're going to back up a little bit because we're moving to a different point. 1 Samuel chapter 2, verses 12 through 17. So Eli was the high priest. He was a good guy. He did what he was supposed to do. But Eli's sons were scoundrels. His sons were not good. They had no regard for the Lord. Now it was the practice of the priests that whenever any of the people offered a sacrifice, the priest's servant would come with a 3-pronged fork in his hand while the meat was being boiled and would plunge the fork into the pan or kettle or cauldron or pot. Whatever the fork brought up, the priest would take for himself. This is how they treated all the Israelites who came to Shiloh. But even before the fat was burned, the priest's servant would come and say to the person who was sacrificing, "Give the priest some meat to roast. He won't accept boiled meat from you, but only raw." If the person said to him, "Let the fat be burned first and take whatever you want," the servant would answer, "No, hand it over now. If you don't, I'll take it by force." This sin of the young men was very great in the Lord's sight, for they were treating the Lord's offering with contempt. I'm getting spammed with some really weird TikTok notifications. I'm not quite sure. Hold on a second. It started happening yesterday. It's never happened before. I think some kind of setting changed. Let me look into this real quick. I'm not sure. Must be some kind of new feature. Yeah, I'm live on TikTok. It's just, I'm getting notifications that literally just have someone's name next to them, but it's like nothing. Like, I have 2Dream1, Norma, LL, VZE, Daito, VZE, Daito, like, what is this? It's just really weird. And it's like, it's half my chat window, even though there's like not a single message in that like wall of notifications. And it's like moving pretty fast. Like, it's a little distracting. Let me see if I can tweak this real quick. It happened yesterday too. I think that was the first time. Which is weird because I intentionally stopped updating the program so it would stop getting weird stuff like this. But somehow I got something weird anyway, so maybe it's a new thing on TikTok's end. Or maybe I just really need to update. Maybe it's the fact that I haven't updated in forever that's causing issues. Give me just a moment. I'm sorry to break the train of thought, but this is a little bit obnoxious. You know what? Okay, I'm gonna disconnect the TikTok chat and then reconnect it. No, that didn't do anything. Yeah, true dream. Okay, maybe we can... Okay, give me a couple of minutes. I want to figure this out. Maybe we can kind of experiment with this. Dream, can you just like the stream real quick? On TikTok, like just tap it or whatever it is you do. I'm trying to see what this is. Like, what's causing this? Okay, so I guess if you've liked by now, it's not liking. Send a message, maybe? So that might be it? It gave the notification and it put your message. That's so bizarre. Send another message? Okay, thank you. Can you send another message on TikTok, Dream? It didn't do it to Diego when he sent a message, though. What the heck? Okay, that time it didn't do it. I don't know what this is. So weird. I really would like to figure this out and eliminate it, because it's kind of spammy and it makes it harder for me to see people's messages because it buries people's messages. Everything is cheese. That's right, Victor. Excuse me. I didn't know I had an auto translation feature. That's pretty cool. I'm going to turn that on. I mean, why not, right? Better than seeing something in another language. You can't do worse. Yeah, I know, but it'll be more understandable than just other language stuff for me, because English is all I know. Okay, well, whatever it was, it seems to have stopped now for some reason. Maybe it was just a bug. I don't know, man. Whatever. I think we're fine. It might have just been a bug. I'm gonna screenshot it and I'm gonna put it in the mod chat so you'll see what I mean. It's really weird. Okay, yeah, that's a pretty good screenshot. I'm gonna put that in mod chat so you can see what I'm talking about. It's really, really weird. I don't think any of y'all use this program, right? So you probably can't compare your results or anything. But you see all those TikTok notifications, it's just like people's names, but there's like nothing there. It's really weird. I'm trying to figure out what's causing that. I don't know what that is. But yeah, I put it in mod chats. Whatever, it seems to have stopped for now. I'm not seeing it. Maybe it was just a bug. It might just be a bug. It seems to have gone away for the moment. Yeah. You've updated? Oh, you haven't updated yours. Okay. I don't know. It might have just bugged. It stopped doing it now, so I think it was just a bug. All right, well, let's see. We're going to go back to this. So we were talking about... Right. So Eli's sons were messing up big time, right? They were working in the temple, and they were having no respect for God's rules and laws regarding what you're supposed to do with the sacrifices and whatnot, which was a very, very big sin in God's eyes. Thank you for the lurk, True. So what's my next note? 22 through 25. Okay. Now Eli, who was very old, heard about everything his sons were doing to all Israel and how they slept with the... Oh, that was another thing they did. They slept with the women who served at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Oh my goodness. So on top of having zero respect for how God wanted things to be handled and the sacrifices and whatnot, and threatening the people who did want to try to do it the right way. They also wanted to... I mean, they were effectively, I guess... they were essaying women who came to do things for God, and then instead this was happening because of the priest's sons. So they were doing some pretty terrible things. So Eli said to them, "Why do you do such things? I hear from all the people about these wicked deeds of yours. No, my sons, the report I hear spreading among the Lord's people is not good. If one person sins against another, God may mediate for the offender. But if anyone sins against the Lord, who will intercede for them?" His sons, however, did not listen to their father's rebuke, for it was the Lord's will to put them to death. At this point, they were already too far gone, so there was no saving them. And the boy Samuel continued to grow in stature and in favor with the Lord and with people. I wonder if it's glitching, picking up the people are joining or following. Maybe? I'm getting some repeat names, though. And I did turn off the TikTok notifications about joins, because that was pretty spammy, but I don't know. All right, so this happened, right? So what happens next? Now a man of God came to Eli and said to him, "This is what the Lord says. Did I not clearly reveal myself to your ancestors' family when they were in Egypt under Pharaoh? I chose your ancestor out of all the tribes of Israel to be my priest, to go up to my altar, to burn incense, and to wear an ephod in my presence. I also gave your ancestors' family all the food offerings presented by the Israelites. Why do you scorn my sacrifice and offering that I prescribed for my dwelling? Why do you honor your sons more than me by fattening yourselves on the choice parts of every offering made by my people Israel?" So, whoa, like, what is God saying here? Why do you honor your sons more than me? But didn't we just see that Eli looked like he was trying to talk them out of it? But I suppose that's just it. He only tried to talk them out of it. He should have gone even further. He had a huge responsibility being like the high priest. I think he was effectively the judge at that time, which is effectively the leader of Israel. He had a huge responsibility, and he was doing well, but his sons were not. And being their father, he had a responsibility to stop them, and he wasn't. He tried to talk them out of it, but that wasn't enough. Why do you honor your sons more than me by fattening yourselves on the choice parts of every offering made by my people Israel? Therefore, the Lord, the God of Israel, declares, I promised that members of your family would minister before me forever. But now the Lord declares, far be it from me. Those who honor me, I will honor, but those who despise me will be disdained. The time is coming when I will cut short your strength and the strength of your priestly house, so that no one in it will reach old age, and you will see distress in my dwelling. Although good will be done to Israel, no one in your family line will ever reach old age. Every one of you that I do not cut off from serving at my altar, I will spare only to destroy your sight and sap your strength, and all your descendants will die in the prime of life. And what happens to your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, will be assigned to you. They will both die on the same day. I will raise up for myself a faithful priest who will do according to what is in my heart and mind. I will firmly establish his priestly house, and they will minister before my anointed one always. Then everyone left in your family line will come and bow down before him for a piece of silver and a loaf of bread and plead, appoint me to some priestly office so I can have food to eat. So a pretty severe curse that's being pronounced upon Eli and his sons. But Eli needed to do more to stop his sons from committing these grievous offenses. Sure thing, Diego, thanks. It's not doing those weird notifications anymore. I think it was a bug. Hey, Atlas, how you doing? So, I don't know if we really have any parents in here, but make sure you do your best to prevent your kids from sinning. Obviously, everybody has free will, but... And I mean, these sons were adults, you know? It's not like, oh, little children like this. I mean, these were adults, and they weren't just doing, like, minor things. I mean, they were severely disregarding God's, like, sacrifices, selfishly, like, taking things for themselves, and then sleeping with the women who came to offer to the temple and do things for God. I mean, this is pretty severe stuff. Eli needed to do more than just talk them out of it. I don't plan on ever having kids. Yeah. I suppose not I either, but, you know, God's will be done, who knows. But, yeah, I don't really foresee that currently for myself. All right, and there's more. 1 Samuel 3, 10 through 14. The Lord came and stood there, calling as at the other time, Samuel, Samuel. Then Samuel said, speak, for your servant is listening. So this is after God called him twice. Not too important. Here's the conversation. And the Lord said to Samuel, see, I'm about to do something in Israel that will make the ears of everyone who hears about it tingle. At that time, I will carry out against Eli everything I spoke against his family, from beginning to end. For I told him that I would judge his family forever because of the sin he knew about. His sons blasphemed God, and he failed to restrain them. Therefore, I swore to the house of Eli, the guilt of Eli's house will never be atoned for by any sacrifice or offering. So, really, really severe punishment And that's the confirmation right there. So God was saying he failed to restrain his son. So as parents, sometimes we can be held responsible for what our kids do if we can stop them. You know, obviously there's a fine line. You know, everybody's free will. You got to figure out the fine line. But Eli was clearly not doing enough, especially considering that, you know, him and his house, like, they were priests. They had the responsibility of taking care of, like, the sacrifices, like everything that God was expecting from Israel in terms of offerings and the temple and whatnot. And he was doing a good job, but his sons were doing a terrible job. So he didn't do enough to stop them. And he was punished along with them for it. He was held responsible a little bit. Well, not a little bit, a lot. Okay, and then moving to Samuel 5. The whole chapter, actually. Okay. After the Philistines had captured the Ark of God, so we skipped chapter 4, but basically the prophecies happen. The battle comes, the Philistines take out a bunch of Israelites. Eli's sons are killed. Eli also dies. And the Philistines capture the Ark of the Covenant, right? After the Philistines had captured the Ark of God, they took it from Ebenezer to Ashdod. Then they carried the Ark into Dagon's temple and set it beside Dagon. Dagon is basically one of the pagan gods they worshipped. When the people of Ashdod rose early the next day, there was Dagon fallen on his face on the ground before the Ark of the Lord. They took Dagon and put him back in his place. But the following morning when they rose, there was Dagon fallen on his face on the ground before the Ark of the Lord. His head and hands had been broken off and were lying on the threshold. Only his body remained. That is why to this day neither the priests of Dagon nor any others who enter Dagon's temple at Ashdod step on the threshold. The Lord's hand was heavy on the people of Ashdod and its vicinity. He brought devastation on them and afflicted them with tumors. When the people of Ashdod saw what was happening, they said, "The Ark of the God of Israel must not stay here with us, because his hand is heavy on us and on Dagon our God." So they called together all the rulers of the Philistines and asked them, "What shall we do with the Ark of the God of Israel?" They answered, "Have the Ark of the God of Israel moved to Gath." So they moved the Ark of the God of Israel. But after they had moved it, the Lord's hand was against the city, throwing it into a great panic. He afflicted the people of the city, both young and old, with an outbreak of tumors. So they sent the Ark of God to Ekron. As the Ark of God was entering Ekron, the people of Ekron cried out, "They have brought the Ark of the God of Israel around us to kill us and our people." So they called together all the rulers of the Philistines and said, "Send the Ark of the God of Israel away. Let it go back to its own place, or it'll kill us and our people." For death had filled the city with panic. God's hand was very heavy on it. Those who did not die were afflicted with tumors, and the outcry of the city went up to heaven. So this is the Ark of the Covenant, like, very, very holy thing that Israel had. The Philistines captured it, and whenever they put it in the temple with their pagan god, the pagan god falls over on its face. The Ark is standing. They put the pagan god back up, it falls over again. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world, right? God is greater than any pagan god or demon or false deity that's out there. And I say false deity, I mean, they are false. They're not God, they're false gods, but they're not completely imaginary. Demons are real. This Dagon was probably a demon of some kind that these people were worshiping. Or Baal was another possible popular one at Old Testament's times. Moloch, I believe, was the one that they used to sacrifice children to, like in the burning fire, when we read about why God was driving out all these other pagan civilizations, because they were sacrificing their children. Well, that was one of the things. They were sacrificing their children to these pagan gods. Moloch was the one that was commonly sacrificed to. Very, very despicable, detestable practices. But God is greater than all of them. Those are demons. They're false gods. They aren't really God. God is God. Jesus Christ is Lord. Because they're still looking for that today, the Ark of the Covenant. I haven't looked into that too much. I've heard there was a story that was claiming that it's been found. I forgot the guy's name, but there was a guy that he just felt a nudging from God to lead him to a location. And wasn't it like underneath the cross or something, so that the blood from the cross was actually flowing down underground to land onto the Ark of the Covenant, something along those lines? I remember I watched a documentary of the story, but that was a while ago, and I didn't really do enough research. Some people were claiming it's fake. I mean, who knows? I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not like it affects my faith, but it is pretty cool. Especially the detail that really caught my eye was how everything kind of came together, because I think it was Jeremiah. We haven't gotten there yet, but I believe the prophet Jeremiah was the one who was supposed to hide the Ark of the Covenant. And then if after all this time it was discovered to in fact be underneath the cross at Golgotha, so that the blood of Jesus ended up actually flowing down underground and landing on the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant, the symbolism of that is insane, because he is the Lamb of God, right? The perfect sacrifice. So he literally, his blood as the perfect sacrifice lands on the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant. It's just perfect fulfillment of the law, you know? That's what I've heard. But I also heard it's so holy so anyone lays down could die from its presence. Maybe I got that confused. No, that's correct. That's correct. And I think it actually says that right here. Let me see. Okay, I didn't make note of it, but I'm pretty sure it's like right here. So basically the Philistines, they realize they can't have the Ark of the Covenant here. They're not God's chosen people. They're not supposed to have it. It's killing them. So they decide to send it back to the Israelites. So they do that. Right, so now the people of Beth Shemesh, these are the Israelites, were harvesting their wheat in the valley, and when they looked up and saw the ark, they rejoiced at the sight. The cart came to the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh, and there it stopped beside a large rock. The people chopped up the wood of the cart and sacrificed the cows as a burnt offering to the Lord. The Levites took down the ark of the Lord together with the chest containing the gold objects and placed them on the large rock. On that day, the people of Beth Shemesh offered burnt offerings and made sacrifices to the Lord. The 5 rulers of the Philistines saw all this and then returned that same day to Ekron. These are all the gold tumors the Philistines sent as a guilt offering to the Lord. Because the Philistines didn't just send the ark, they also sent like an offering to try to like get God to stop cursing them. 1 each for Ashdod, Gaza, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron, like their Philistine cities. And the number of the gold rats was according to the number of Philistine towns belonging to the 5 rulers, the fortified towns with their country villages. The large rock on which the Levites set the ark of the Lord is a witness to this day in the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh. But God struck down some of the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh. These are Israelites. God struck down some of the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh, putting 70 of them to death because they looked into the ark of the Lord. The people mourned because of the heavy blow the Lord had dealt them. And the people of Beth Shemesh asked, "Who can stand in the presence of the Lord, this holy God? To whom will the ark go up from here?" Then they sent messengers to the people of Kiriath Jearim, saying, "The Philistines have returned the ark of the Lord. Come down and take it up to your town." So yes, they're not supposed to look in. But you have to remember one more detail. Whenever Jesus was crucified and he breathed his last breath, what's one of the things that happened? Other than like the earthquake, people rising from the dead, the veil of the temple was torn in two, and that was symbolic because back then only the high priest could go in there in the holiest of holies and only once a year. So you couldn't really, God was very inaccessible. It was very, very difficult to get to him. But then with Christ as our mediator, being covered in the blood of Jesus, that boundary, that obstacle, that obstruction is no longer there. Now we have, it's much easier for us to access God thanks to the sacrifice of Jesus Christ through his grace and mercy. So I don't think looking into the Ark of the Covenant, I mean, I wouldn't test this, but, you know, I don't think it's nearly as dangerous as it used to be. Not because it's any less holy or because we're any better, but because thanks to Jesus Christ, him covering us, it allows us through Jesus to be able to partake, like be able to access God more easily, if that makes sense. I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. I don't want to say anything blasphemous, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. Thanks to Jesus, we can do things that we weren't able to do before. And that was symbolically represented by the veil of the temple being torn in two. Now the holiest of holies isn't so inaccessible anymore. It's not, oh, just the high priest once a year. Now, thanks to Jesus, we can access these sorts of things way more easily. So I think someone, I mean, I don't want to say for sure. I don't know for sure, but I think someone, like a genuine Christian, could look into the Ark of the Covenant. I think it'd be fine. But again, I haven't done my research. I don't really know what's fully true regarding the Ark of the Covenant. It's a really cool story. Is it true? I don't know. I haven't really fully done my research. Whether it's true or not doesn't affect my faith at all. But it's a cool story nonetheless. Yeah. Okay, so what was my next reference? Chapter 7, 1 through 4. So the men of Kiriath Jearim came and took up the Ark of the Lord. They brought it to Abinadab's house on the hill and consecrated Eleazar his son to guard the Ark of the Lord. The Ark remained at Kiriath Jearim a long time, 20 years in all. Then all the people of Israel turned back to the Lord. So Samuel said to all the Israelites, "If you are returning to the Lord with all of your hearts, then rid yourselves of the foreign gods and the Ashtoreths and commit yourselves to the Lord and serve him only, and he will deliver you out of the hand of the Philistines." So the Israelites put away their Baals and Ashtoreths and served the Lord only. So of course, they're pagan gods. So Samuel's basically telling them, like, it's not good enough to just, put the ark here and, offer these sacrifices. That ain't good enough. You need to repent of idolatry. Get rid of all these pagan gods. Put God first, love God first, worship him only. Do not worship these other gods. Idolatry was a very severe sin back then that the Israelites committed a lot. And many of us do it nowadays too, by making gods out of other things. Maybe not religiously worshiping them with like altars and idols, but just by having this intense love and adoration and obsession with certain things that we shouldn't. We have to make sure God is always number one in our lives. Chapter 8. Oh, here we go. Now we're talking about the king. When Samuel grew old, so I've been kind of skipping around, but the context is Samuel, he's close to God. He's the next judge of Israel, so he's the next sort of leader of Israel, right? So when Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons as Israel's leaders. The name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second was Abijah, and they served at Beersheba. But his sons did not follow his ways. They turned aside after dishonest gain and accepted bribes and perverted justice. So we know Eli had bad sons. It looks like Samuel does too. Maybe Samuel's sons, what they did might not have been as bad, but it still wasn't good. So all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. They said to him, "You are old, and your sons do not follow your ways. Now appoint a king to lead us, such as all the other nations have." So notice they want to have a king like everyone else. All these nations around, they have kings, so they want one too. But when they said, "Give us a king to lead us," this displeased Samuel. So he prayed to the Lord. And the Lord told him, "Listen to all that the people are saying to you. It is not you they have rejected, but they have rejected me as their king. As they have done from the day I brought them up out of Egypt until this day, forsaking me and serving other gods, so they are doing to you. Now listen to them, but warn them solemnly and let them know what the king who will reign over them will claim as his rights." Samuel told all the words of the Lord to the people who were asking for a king. He said, "This is what the king who will reign over you will claim as his rights. He will take your sons and make them serve with his chariots and horses, and they will run in front of his chariots. Some he will assign to be commanders of thousands and commanders of 50s, and others to plow his ground and reap his harvest, and still others to make weapons of war and equipment for his chariots. He will take your daughters to be perfumers and cooks and bakers. He will take the best of your fields and vineyards and olive groves and give them to his attendants. He will take a tenth of your grain and of your vintage and give it to his officials and attendants. Your male and female servants and the best of your cattle and donkeys he will take for his own use. He will take a tenth of your flocks, and you yourselves will become his slaves. When that day comes, you will cry out for relief from the king you have chosen, but the Lord will not answer you in that day." But the people refused to listen to Samuel. "No," they said, "we want a king over us. Then we will be like all the other nations, with a king to lead us and to go out before us and fight our battles." When Samuel heard all that the people said, he repeated it before the Lord. The Lord answered, "Listen to them and give them a king." Then Samuel said to the Israelites, "Everyone go back to your own town." Excuse me. So, at first, like, what they're saying doesn't really sound so bad. Like, oh, they just want a king, right? The reasoning is they just want a king because everybody else around them has a king, so they want a king like them. So, remember how the Bible says, I believe in Romans 12, "Do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Don't try to be like everyone else. You need to follow God's way, even if it's different from everyone else. In fact, you often will be very different from everyone else, because unfortunately, sin is very common, especially in this day and age. But the Israelites, they wanted to be like everyone else. And God points out a detail about this that maybe we didn't quite realize. That by asking for a king, they are effectively rejecting God as their king. Because up to this point, they were relying on God for their guidance to tell them what to do, to go fight their battles for them. But that takes faith. They had to believe in someone they can't see, someone that they can't hear from whenever they want. They just kind of had to trust in God that he would take care of them. But that wasn't good enough for them. They wanted something tangible, something they could see, something clearly that they could perceive. So it didn't take as much faith to be like, hey, here's this man who will fight our battles. Let's just rally behind him instead of an invisible God that we can't see and we don't know what he's planning and what's going on. But they rejected God as their king because they wanted to be like everyone else. So God tells Samuel, okay, fine, they can do it, but warn them. This is what's going to happen. That this king is going to make their life miserable, and they're going to wish they never asked for a king, but God will not answer them in that day. But they didn't listen to the warning. They wanted a king anyway. So God's like, all right, let them have a king. Fine. It's their free will. He honors their free will. All right, so chapter 9. Hold on, I need a hydration break. There was a Benjamite, a man of standing, whose name was Kish, son of Abiel, the son of Zeror, the son of Bechorath, the son of Appiah of Benjamin. Kish had a son named Saul, as handsome a young man as could be found anywhere in Israel, and he was a head taller than anyone else. Now the donkeys belonging to Saul's father Kish were lost, and Kish said to his son Saul, "Take one of the servants with you and go and look for the donkeys." So he passed through the hill country of Ephraim and through the area around Shalisha, but they did not find them. They went on into the district of Shalim, but the donkeys were not there. Then he passed through the territory of Benjamin, but they did not find them. When they reached the district of Zuph, Saul said to the servant who was with him, "Come, let's go back, or my father will stop thinking about the donkeys and start worrying about us." But the servant replied, "Look, in this town there's a man of God. He is highly respected, and everything he says comes true. Let's go there now. Perhaps he will tell us what way to take." Saul said to his servant, "If we go, what can we give the man? The food in our sacks is gone. We have no gift to take to the man of God. What do we have?" The servant answered him again. "Look," he said, "I have a quarter of a shekel of silver. I will give it to the man of God so he will tell us which way to take." Formerly in Israel, if someone went to inquire of God, they would say, "Come, let us go to the seer, because a prophet of today used to be called a seer." "Good," Saul said to his servant. "Come, let's go." So they set out for the town where the man of God was. As they were going up the hill to the town, they met some young women coming out to draw water, and they asked them, "Is the seer here?" "He is," they answered. "He's ahead of you. Hurry now. He has just come to our town today, for the people have a sacrifice at the high place. As soon as you enter the town, you will find him before he goes up to the high place to eat. The people will not begin eating until he comes, because he must bless the sacrifice. Afterward, those who are invited will eat. Go up now. You should find him about this time." They went up to the town, and as they were entering it, there was Samuel coming toward them on his way up to the high place. Now the day before Saul came, the Lord had revealed this to Samuel. "About this time tomorrow, I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin. Anoint him ruler over my people Israel. He will deliver them from the hand of the Philistines. I have looked on my people, for their cry has reached me." When Samuel caught sight of Saul, the Lord said to him, "This is the man I spoke to you about. He will govern my people." Saul approached Samuel in the gateway and asked, "Would you please tell me where the seer's house is?" "I am the seer," Samuel replied. "Go up ahead of me to the high place, for today you are to eat with me, and in the morning I will send you on your way and will tell you all that is in your heart. As for the donkeys you lost 3 days ago, do not worry about them. They have been found. And to whom is all the desire of Israel turned, if not to you and your whole family line?" Saul answered, "But am I not a Benjamite from the smallest tribe of Israel? And is not my clan the least of all the clans of the tribe of Benjamin? Why do you say such a thing to me?" So, pretty common theme we see in the Old Testament. God takes the least of the least and elevates him to kingship. Very, very common. And we'll get more details actually pretty soon. Well, towards the end of these readings, why God does it. He actually elaborates on what factors he's looking for exactly. But as we saw when we talked about Gideon's story, God will often take the least of the least and elevate him to bring himself glory, so they can't really take credit for themselves. The message I wanted to make from this chapter was, notice how this situation even came about. He lost his family lost his donkeys, so he goes to look for the donkeys with his servant. They can't find the donkeys, and this journey effectively ends up taking them to Samuel, who ends up telling him, "Hey," well, maybe not right away, he doesn't exactly say this, but effectively soon he's going to be like, "I'm going to anoint you king." And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about the donkeys, it's fine." And the moral of the story here is God orchestrated this. God intentionally had the donkeys get lost away to guide Saul over here, so that this encounter would happen, so that Saul would be anointed as king. So sometimes bad things happen in our lives just because God is trying to move us in certain directions. That's the thing. God will absolutely orchestrate events in our lives. There can be so many different reasons why bad things can happen in our lives. Sometimes it's punishment, sometimes it's disciplining. Sometimes it's like this, where God is trying to guide you down a certain path. Sometimes it's so that his glory can be shown through the situation. When you do things this way, that's kind of like the man born blind, right? Where the disciples asked him, who sinned, this man or his father, that he was born blind? And Jesus said, neither him nor his parents sinned, but this was done so that the glory of God could be revealed through him. And Jesus healed him, and that brought him glory, right? So, or it can be a test, like in the case of Job, where God allowed a lot of bad things to happen to Job, and just to test him, like, would he remain faithful to God? And he did, and then he was rewarded. So there can be a lot of reasons why bad things can happen to people. There's many, many, many possible reasons. This is just one of them. Next, okay, we're going to jump ahead 3 chapters. We're going to go to 1 Samuel 12, 6 through 25. Then Samuel said to the people, "It is the Lord who appointed Moses and Aaron and brought your ancestors up out of Egypt. Now then, stand here, because I'm going to confront you with evidence before the Lord as to all the righteous acts performed by the Lord for you and your ancestors. After Jacob entered Egypt, they cried to the Lord for help, and the Lord sent Moses and Aaron, who brought your ancestors out of Egypt and settled them in this place. But they forgot the Lord their God, so he sold them into the hand of Sisera, the commander of the army of Hazor, and into the hands of the Philistines and the king of Moab, who fought against them. They cried out to the Lord and said, 'We have sinned, we have forsaken the Lord and served the Baals and the Ashtoreths. But now deliver us from the hands of our enemies, and we will serve you.' Then the Lord sent Jerubbaal, Barak, Jephthah, and Samuel, and he delivered you from the hands of your enemies all around you, so that you lived in safety. But when you saw that Nahash, king of the Ammonites, was moving against you, you said to me, 'No, we want a king to rule over us,' even though the Lord your God was your king. Now here is the king you have chosen, the one you asked for," referring to Saul. "See, the Lord has set a king over you. If you fear the Lord and serve and obey him and do not rebel against his commands, and if both you and the king who reigns over you follow the Lord your God, good. But if you do not obey the Lord, and if you rebel against his commands, his hand will be against you, as it was against your ancestors. Now then, stand still and see this great thing the Lord is about to do before your eyes. It is not wheat harvest now. I will call on the Lord to send thunder and rain, and you will realize what an evil thing you did in the eyes of the Lord when you asked for a king. Then Samuel called on the Lord, and that same day the Lord sent thunder and rain. So all the people stood in awe of the Lord and of Samuel. The people all said to Samuel, "Pray to the Lord your God for your servants, so that we will not die, for we have added to all our other sins the evil of asking for a king." "Do not be afraid," Samuel replied. "You have done all this evil, yet do not turn away from the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart. Do not turn away after useless idols. They can do you no good, nor can they rescue you, because they are useless. For the sake of his great name, the Lord will not reject his people, because the Lord was pleased to make you his own. As for me, far be it from me that I should sin against the Lord by failing to pray for you, and I will teach you the way that is good and right. But be sure to fear the Lord and serve him faithfully with all your heart. Consider what great things he has done for you. Yet if you persist in doing evil, both you and your king will perish." So Samuel's saying, yeah, y'all messed up by asking for a king, but even now, it's fine. It's not too late. If you and your king serve the Lord with all your heart, everything's going to be fine. But if you do not, both you and your king will perish. God's hand will be against you, just like it was against your ancestors. So God had mercy on them. It's like, okay, you rejected me as king. You want a human king instead. Fine. Okay. I'll let that happen. If y'all continue serving me, things will still be good. But if you disobey me, then this punishment would happen. And I think you can guess what actually ended up happening. But we're going to continue. 1 Samuel chapter 13, 5 through 15. The Philistines assembled to fight Israel with 3,000 chariots, 6,000 charioteers, and soldiers as numerous as the sand on the seashore. They went up and camped at Michmash, east of Beth-aven. When the Israelites saw that their situation was critical and that their army was hard-pressed, they hid in caves and thickets, among the rocks, and in pits and cisterns. Some Hebrews even crossed the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. Saul remained at Gilgal, and all the troops with him were quaking with fear. He waited 7 days, the time set by Samuel, but Samuel did not come to Gilgal. So Samuel was coming late, and Saul's men began to scatter. So he said, "Bring me the burnt offering and the fellowship offerings." And Saul offered up the burnt offering. Just as he finished making the offering, Samuel arrived, and Saul went out to greet him. "What have you done?" asked Samuel. So context, he's not supposed to do that. He's not supposed to be offering burnt offerings. That's Samuel's thing. Saul replied, "When I saw that the men were scattering, and that you did not come at the set time, and that the Philistines were assembling at Michmash, I thought, now the Philistines will come down against me at Gilgal, and I have not sought the Lord's favor. So I felt compelled to offer the burnt offering." "You have done a foolish thing," Samuel said. You have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. If you had, he would have established your kingdom over Israel for all time. But now your kingdom will not endure. The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart and appointed him ruler of his people, because you have not kept the Lord's command." Then Samuel left Gilgal and went up to Gibeah in Benjamin, and Saul counted the men who were with him. They numbered about 600. So what happened here? There's a terrifying battle coming. Saul's troops are already deserting and freaking out and hiding in caves. They don't want to fight this battle. They already think they're going to lose. Morale is very low. They're abandoning him. So this is an extremely stressful situation. We got to give Saul some credit here. This was extremely stressful. This was extremely scary. Like, it already looked like a really hard battle, but his people are deserting. Morale is very low. And he's like, okay, you know what, whatever. Samuel's going to be here. He's the man of God. He's going to show up and everything's going to be okay. But then Samuel doesn't show up. 7 days pass, Samuel doesn't show up. So now Saul is really worried. He's like, he feels cornered, like everything is falling apart. But instead of having faith in God, because I mean, he's effectively being tested here. Instead of having faith in God and trusting in God, they're like, you know what? No, everything's going to be okay. Don't disobey. I don't remember the exact law details of why he wasn't supposed to do this. I don't know if it's because like only the high priest was supposed to be able to offer these offerings and he's not supposed to do that. Something along those lines. But for whatever reason, as Samuel points out, he was not supposed to do this. So, but he does it. He takes matters into his own hands. He's like, okay, you know, things are falling apart. God's not helping me. I'm going to take matters into my own hands. I'm not supposed to be making these sacrifices. I'm going to offer these burnt offerings to God. And then I'm going to get God's help. Like, and he thinks that works. And coincidentally, right as he does that, then Samuel shows up. And that ain't no coincidence. God was testing him. That's why Samuel showed up at that exact moment, right when he failed the test. "What have you done?" asked Samuel. So he just makes an excuse. He's like, you know, things were falling apart, basically. You were late, so I offered the burnt offering to seek God's favor. And Samuel said, "You have done a foolish thing." You have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. If you had, you would have established your kingdom over Israel for all time. But now your kingdom will not endure. The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart and appointed him ruler of his people because you have not kept the Lord's command. Sounds like he had a kingdom of and blew it, and then God's like, sorry, we're going somewhere more worthy. Yes, I skipped a couple chapters. I didn't really feel like there was as much of a life lesson to get from them, but Saul did really good at first. Like, while the Israelites were terrified, he was brave, and he fought for the Israelites. He pursued the Philistines. He beat them up. Like, I think that's what the past 2 chapters are about. Like, he did really well. Sorry to focus on the negative stuff, but I feel like that's where we could learn more. It's easy to do the right thing when things are good. You know, it's harder to do the right thing when things are bad. So this is a scenario where things are bad, and this is not the first time God has tested people by being late. I mean, the Bible doesn't say that Samuel was intentionally being late, but I mean, I think that can kind of be inferred. We don't know for absolute certain. But either way, whether it was intentional or not, this was not what Saul was supposed to do. But remember when Moses went up the mountain to talk to God, and he was supposed to only be there, I think, for like a certain amount of time. Was it 40 days? But then he ended up staying up there longer. And then when he was there longer than he was supposed to be, then the Israelites freaked out. They went to Aaron. They're like, hey, make us gods that we can worship, since Moses, we don't know, he might be dead. So Aaron melts down all their gold jewelry or something. They make a ball statue, and they start worshiping it and giving it credit for delivering them from Egypt, right? And that got them in really hot water where God wanted to wipe them out. But then Moses interceded for them. He prayed for them, like, please, please have mercy on them. And God ended up forgiving them. He's still, like, I think diseased like a bunch of them. But, yeah, he ended up having mercy on them. So sometimes it'll look like God's being late. Sometimes you'll think, here's a deadline, and I need God to move at this deadline. And sometimes God will intentionally not move at that deadline to test you. Are you going to crack? Are you going to break at that moment? It's a test. Does God appearing to be late justify you sinning and doing things you're not supposed to do? How strong is your sense of morality? Is it conditional, or is your obedience and your worship towards God unconditional? Is there a certain line that once you reach that line, all of a sudden your morality just breaks, your discipline breaks, and now you start doing what's wrong? And not only that, after doing what's wrong, if you mess up, can you take accountability? Can you admit fault, take accountability, and, you know, admit to God that you sinned, ask for his forgiveness, and get up and try again? Because Saul's making excuses here. He's not apologizing. He's not like, Samuel, I'm so sorry. I really shouldn't have done that. I caved in. I messed up. I was freaking out. You know, my troops are gone. He's not apologetic at all. He's literally saying that, you know, the men were scattering. You were late. The Philistines are going to attack us soon. So I needed to seek the Lord's favor. I felt like I had to do this. Then this is what caused Saul, like, as we know, Jesus ultimately came from the line of David, right? If Saul had been obedient here and did what he was supposed to do, it's very possible that Saul would have instead been the ancestor of Jesus, because his kingdom would have been established like as stably over Israel, but that's not what ended up happening. Saul's rather, he's actually so much stature of Goliath, everything he needed to leave the nation but fail. Instead, David was able to. Right. Okay. So I think that's it on that passage. Let's move to the next one. Oh yeah, so this is interesting. So this is going to be a pretty strong contrast. Hold on, let me hydrate for this one, because we're going to be reading almost the entire chapter. Let's see. So before I go into this, context again, right? Saul's troops are still deserting him. And now Samuel is effectively telling him, like, yeah, you messed up. Like, your kingdom, God is going to seek someone else instead to lead Israel over instead of you. So it's not looking good for Saul. But then what happens? Do they just get wiped out in this battle or something? No, let's see. One day, Jonathan, son of Saul, so this is Saul's son, Jonathan, said to his young armor-bearer, "Come, let's go over to the Philistine outpost on the other side." But he did not tell his father. So 2 people. Saul was staying on the outskirts of Gibeah under a pomegranate tree in Migron. With him were about 600 men, among whom was Ahijah, who was wearing an ephod. Excuse me. He was the son of Ichabod's brother, Ahitub, son of Phinehas, the son of Eli, the Lord's priest in Shiloh. No one was aware that Jonathan had left. On each side of the pass that Jonathan intended to cross to reach the Philistine outpost was a cliff. One was called Bozez and the other Seneh. One cliff stood to the north toward Michmash and the other to the south toward Geba. Jonathan said to his young armor-bearer, "Come, let's go over to the outpost of these uncircumcised men. Perhaps the Lord will act in our behalf. Nothing can hinder the Lord from saving, whether by many or by few." So he has faith. He has strong faith that even though there's only 2 of them, they're going by themselves. He believes that And he said, perhaps the Lord will act on our behalf. It's not, he doesn't even know for sure that God is going to help them here, but he knows that God can. He knows that God is capable of helping them to win this battle. Do all that you have in mind, his armor bearer said. Go ahead, I'm with you, heart and soul. Jonathan said, come on then, we will cross over toward them and let them see us. If they say to us, wait there until we come to you, we will stay where we are and not go up to them. But if they say, come up to us, we will climb up, because that will be our sign that the Lord has given them into our hands. So both of them showed themselves to the Philistine outpost. Look, said the Philistines, the Hebrews are crawling out of the holes they were hiding in. The men of the outpost shouted to Jonathan and his armor bearer, come up to us and we'll teach you a lesson. So Jonathan said to his armor bearer, climb up after me. The Lord has given them into the hand of Israel. Jonathan climbed up using his hands and feet with his armor bearer right behind him. The Philistines fell before Jonathan, and his armor bearer followed and killed behind him. In that first attack, Jonathan and his armor bearer killed some 20 men. There's just 2 of them. They killed 20 men in an area of about half an acre. Then panic struck the whole army. Those in the camp and field and those in the outposts and raiding parties, and the ground shook. It was a panic sent by God. Saul's lookouts in Gibeah and Benjamin saw the army melting away in all directions. Then Saul said to the men who were with him, muster the forces and see who has left us. When they did, it was Jonathan and his armor bearer who were not there. Saul said to Ahijah, bring the ark of God. At that time it was with the Israelites. While Saul was talking to the priest, the tumult in the Philistine camp increased more and more. So Saul said to the priest, withdraw your hand. Then Saul and all his men assembled and went to the battle. They found the Philistines in total confusion, striking each other with their swords. Those Hebrews who had previously been with the Philistines and had gone up with them to their camp went over to the Israelites who were with Saul and Jonathan. When all the Israelites who had hidden in the hill country of Ephraim heard that the Philistines were on the run, they joined the battle in hot pursuit. So on that day, the Lord saved Israel, and the battle moved on beyond Beth Aven. So this shows a pretty gigantic contrast between Saul and Jonathan. Saul did not have faith. His men were deserting. I mean, he's king, right? So he is leading all these people. He has them under his responsibility. They start deserting him. They're freaking out. And the Philistine army is freaking huge. Samuel is late. So he's scared. So he, instead of having faith in God, he takes matters into his own hands. He disobeys the law and thinks that he could just offer burnt offerings to get God's favor and get things to work out for him. And it does not. He's punished for it. And then look at his son, Jonathan. By himself, with the armor bearer, he decides to go into this, I don't know, this encampment or whatever. He goes over to the enemy lines. And he's like, if God is with us, we can definitely take these guys out, no problem. Like, even though we're 2 people, it doesn't matter. What do numbers matter when God is on our side? So he had faith. He believed. Even though God didn't appear to him and tell him, I'm with you, go beat the Philistines. He was just fed up. He just went there himself. He's like, you know what? Like, if God is with us, we can definitely win this. They go, and then he gave this condition that's like, oh, based off what they say, if they say this one thing, then we'll know God has delivered them to us, so we can go and wipe them out. They said that thing, they went up, and sure enough, they take out 20 people, and that makes the Philistines panic, and all of a sudden, there's just infighting, they're attacking each other. The Israelites notice this, so they get really hyped up, morale shoots up, they all muster together and wipe out the Philistines, like chase them out, right? So, just the faith of Jonathan compared to the lack of faith on Saul's part, huge contrast. Janasifer, good to see you. How you doing? Yeah, all is well for me, thank God. Hope all is well for you too. Moving to the next one. Oh yeah, this is a pretty famous one. All right, we're gonna read the whole chapter. Samuel said to Saul, so even after Saul messed up, Samuel's still trying to work with him. Samuel said to Saul, I am the one the Lord sent to anoint you king over his people Israel. So listen now to the message from the Lord. This is what the Lord Almighty says. I will punish the Amalekites for what they did to Israel when they waylaid them as they came up from Egypt. Now go, attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Okay, totally destroy them. Excuse me. Do not spare them. Put to death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. So this command is very clear. Wipe them out completely. People, cattle, everything, gone. So Saul summoned the men and mustered them at Telaim, 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 from Judah. Saul went to the city of Amalek and set an ambush in the ravine. Then he said to the Kenites, go away. Leave the Amalekites so that I do not destroy you along with them, for you showed kindness to all the Israelites when they came up out of Egypt. So the Kenites moved away from the Amalekites. Okay, cool. That's fine. Then Saul attacked the Amalekites all the way from Havilah to Shur near the eastern border of Egypt. He took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive and all his people he totally destroyed with a sword. But Saul and the army spared Agag, and the best of the sheep and cattle, the fat calves and lambs, everything that was good. These they were unwilling to destroy completely, but everything that was despised and weak, they totally destroyed. So Samuel gives the command of the Lord, relays it to Saul, saying, wipe them out completely, all the people, all the cattle. But what do? They spare the king, and they spare the good cattle. Then the word of the Lord came to Samuel, I regret that I have made Saul king, because he has turned away from me and has not carried out my instructions. Samuel was angry, and he cried out to the Lord all that night. Early in the morning, Samuel got up and went to meet Saul, but he was told, Saul has gone to Carmel. There he has set up a monument in his own honor and has turned and gone down to Gilgal. So after all this, he was also feeling so proud of himself, so he set up a monument in his own honor. Okay. When Samuel reached him, Saul said, the Lord bless you. I have carried out the Lord's instructions. But Samuel said, what then is this bleating of sheep in my ears? What is this lowing of cattle that I hear? Saul answered, the soldiers brought them. He blames the soldiers. The soldiers brought them from the Amalekites. They spared the best of the sheep and cattle to sacrifice to the Lord your God, but we totally destroyed the rest. Enough, Samuel said to Saul. Let me tell you what the Lord said to me last night. Tell me, Saul replied. Samuel said, although you were once small in your own eyes, did you not become the head of the tribes of Israel? Remember, he was like the least in the tribe of Benjamin before he was anointed king. The Lord, and he sent you on a mission saying, go and completely destroy those wicked people, the Amalekites, wage war against them until you have wiped them out. Why did you not obey the Lord? Why did you pounce on the plunder and do evil in the eyes of the Lord? But I did obey the Lord, Saul said. He can't take accountability. He can't admit they did wrong. But I did obey the Lord, Saul said. I went on the mission the Lord assigned me. I completely destroyed the Amalekites and brought back Agag, their king. The soldiers took sheep and cattle from the plunder, the best of what was devoted to God, in order to sacrifice them to the Lord your God at Gilgal. Hold on, TikTok thinks I'm being inactive. One sec. But Samuel replied, and this is powerful, does the Lord delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as much as in obeying the Lord? To obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed is better than the fat of rams. So Samuel's making it very clear. Don't think that you can just disobey God and then throw in some sacrifices and then it's all good. Like, no. Obedience is way more important than sacrifice. Now, obviously, we don't sacrifice animals anymore nowadays, but our quote-unquote sacrifice nowadays might be like, oh, you know, giving to the church or doing this nice thing, which, I mean, we should probably be doing these things anyway. This is don't ever get transactional with God. If you want to talk about transactional and what's deserved, we all deserve hell. So if we're relying on his grace and mercy. You can't do a transaction system with God. But anyways, it's always way more important to obey God than think that you can just give God something and it's okay to disobey him. Like, no. Always, obedience is way more important than sacrifice. For rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry. So this is interesting. Let's break down this sentence. Rebellion is like the sin of divination. Why? So rebellion is God tells you to do things one way, but you decide you're going to do things another way. Why is that like divination? Divination is like fortune telling. Like trying to, you know, figure out the future through demonic means, or, you know, like fortune telling, you know, crystal ball stuff. I mean, and there's real stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't really work. Demons don't know the future, but they can... I've heard things... Okay, so going off on a bit of a tangent here. From people who have gone out of these kinds of things, I've heard two very interesting details regarding fortune telling. And divination is a sin. Like, stay away from fortune telling, any of that stuff. Do not get involved with that. But from people who've been very involved, like people who used to be fortune tellers, and then they repented and give their life to God, and they give their testimony, I've heard two very interesting details as to why it works. First off, it's demons. The reason why they know what they know is because demons. We have angels and demons. I mean, they're watching us all our lives, okay? And so whenever the fortune teller starts telling you things about your life that it seems like nobody should know, and you're like, whoa, this person must be legit. They know all this stuff about me. There's no way they could know that. Well, of course they know this stuff about you. Your demon is telling that person's demon your life story so they can trick you into going along with this and sinning against God. So, I mean, it's nothing special for someone to know everything about you. The demons, they're watching you. They know everything about you. They're always with you. So, I mean, it's nothing real special for a fortune teller who's working with demons to know what there is to know about you, because they're working with demons. And the other thing is, by engaging in divination, when you're going to these fortune-telling things, you are sinning, and when you are sinning, you are risking losing God's protection. And by doing that, you are giving demons legal right to cause you problems. So the fortune teller can actually predict something for you that wouldn't have actually ended up happening, but because you went to that fortune teller, the fortune teller can predict some kind of bad outcome that now the demons can actually try to cause that bad outcome in your life, and they have the permission to do that because you went to the fortune teller in the first place. Does that make sense? So you cause that bad outcome to happen by going to the fortune teller. Do not ever give in to divination. Don't give in to fortune telling. Don't do that stuff. It is real. These people work with demons. I'm not saying they all do. Some maybe are just, you know, hoaxes or whatnot, but there are some that genuinely do work with demons. It's real stuff. They don't know the future, but they can make negative futures happen to you because you are effectively pushing away God's protection by engaging in these sins, so be careful. But why is it that Samuel says rebellion is like the sin of divination? Well, why is it that you want to know the future? Why do you go to a fortune teller? You want to take matters into your own hands. You want to know what's going to happen so you can have a little bit more control and decide what you're going to do accordingly. When you're rebelling, it's like you're taking the control that should be God's. Like, instead of leaving it up to God, like, hey, God, I'm going to obey you. You do things your way. Whatever happens, happens. Your will be done, right? Instead of doing that, you're like, no, God, I'm not going to obey you. I'm going to do things my way because I don't want to do things your way. I'm going to do things my way. I don't want to obey what you want me to do in this situation. So in the same sense, you're taking matters into your own hands, whether to try to find control in terms of handling things your own way, or take control in terms of trying to know the future so you can plan accordingly. Remember, as Christians, we're supposed to walk by faith, not by sight. Like, God is all about faith. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. We are not supposed to... God intentionally is making it so we don't know exactly what's going to happen. It's supposed to be unclear. It's supposed to be scary because we're supposed to trust in Him. We're like kids putting our faith in our Heavenly Father. We're supposed to trust in Him, have faith in Him. So He's often going to put us in situations where things are kind of scary because it's a test of faith. We need to learn faith. We need to learn that even when things look bad, they don't look like they're going to be okay, that we trust in God. We don't disobey Him. We always obey Him. Even if it looks like it's going to make our situation worse, we always trust Him and obey Him no matter what, rather than relying on us taking matters into our own hands like Saul did, or trying to seek out fortune tellers to know the future. Stay away from that stuff. And the second half of the sentence, an arrogance like the evil of idolatry. Well, I think this is a lot more straightforward. Why is arrogance like idolatry? You think of idolatry as like worshiping gods, right? But as we've established, like it says in the New Testament, greed is a form of idolatry. Nobody's bowing down and worshiping money. It's just greed is they're putting money above God. They're valuing money more than they're valuing God. So anything that you love more than God is idolatry. So arrogance is basically you think you know better than God does. So you are effectively making yourself God over God. So that's a pretty clear connection. Arrogance is like the evil of idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, He has rejected you as king. Oof. So that's pretty devastating. So finally, after all of this, then Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned. I violated the Lord's command and your instructions. I was afraid of the men, and so I gave in to them. Now I beg you, forgive my sin and come back with me so that I may worship the Lord. But I mean, it's too late. Only until after the devastating punishment. Now he does this. But Samuel said to him, I will not go back with you. You have rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you as king over Israel. As Samuel turned to leave, Saul caught hold of the hem of his robe, and it tore. Samuel said to him, the Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you today, and has given it to one of your neighbors, to one better than you. He who is the glory of Israel does not lie or change his mind, for he is not a human being that he should change his mind. Saul replied, I have sinned, but please honor me before the elders of my people and before Israel. Come back with me so that I may worship the Lord your God. I really don't, and I didn't catch this the first time I read this, but I don't like how he keeps saying the Lord your God. Why is he not saying the Lord our God? As if, like, is the Lord not even his God anymore? Oh, it's so strange. Anyways, so Samuel went back with Saul, and Saul worshipped the Lord. Then Samuel said, bring me Agag, king of the Amalekites. Agag came to him in chains, and he thought, surely the bitterness of death is past. But Samuel said, as your sword has made women childless, so will your mother be childless among women. And Samuel put Agag to death before the Lord at Gilgal. Then Samuel left for Ramah, but Saul went up to his home in Gibeah of Saul. Until the day Samuel died, he did not go to see Saul again, though Samuel mourned for him, and the Lord regretted that he had made Saul king over Israel. Oof. So there it is. God's judgment is pronounced upon Saul. What happens next? We're in 15. Okay, next is 16. Maybe this is where he's talking through this me. I am regard. Just my interpretation. Maybe. I'm not sure. Alright, this is a pretty short section. So this is where Samuel goes to anoint the next king. The Lord said to Samuel, how long will you mourn for Saul, since I've rejected him as king over Israel? Fill your horn with oil and be on your way. I'm sending you to Jesse of Bethlehem. I have chosen one of his sons to be king. But Samuel said, "How can I go? If Saul hears about it, he will kill me." The Lord said, "Take a heifer with you and say, 'I've come to sacrifice to the Lord.' Invite Jesse to the sacrifice and I will show you what to do. You are to anoint for me the one I indicate." Samuel did what the Lord said. When he arrived at Bethlehem, the elders of the town trembled when they met him. They asked, "Do you come in peace?" Samuel replied, "Yes, in peace. I've come to sacrifice to the Lord. Consecrate yourselves and come to the sacrifice with me." Then he consecrated Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice. When they arrived, Samuel saw Eliab and thought, "Surely the Lord's anointed stands here before the Lord." But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." So God's not looking for people big and strong, flashy. In fact, God tends to devalue those things. He wants people who look weak so that it brings him glory when he works through these people, right? Think back to Gideon and his army of only 300 people when he initially had, tens of thousands, right? The Lord looks at the heart. That's what's of value to God. Then Jesse called Abinadab and had him pass in front of Samuel. But Samuel said, "The Lord has not chosen this one either." Jesse then had Shammah pass by, but Samuel said, "Nor has the Lord chosen this one." Jesse had 7 of his sons pass before Samuel, but Samuel said to him, "The Lord has not chosen these." So he asked Jesse, "Are these all the sons you have?" "There is still the youngest," Jesse answered. "He is tending the sheep." Samuel said, "Send for him. We will not sit down until he arrives." So he sent for him and had him brought in. He was glowing with health and had a fine appearance and handsome features. Then the Lord said, "Rise and anoint him. This is the one." The youngest son is the one who gets chosen. So Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the presence of his brothers, and from that day on, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David. Samuel then went to Ramah. So there you go. God looks at the heart. God is not looking at outward appearance, he's looking at the heart. And as we know, as we'll see later, David was a man after God's own heart. Okay. And then we have one more chapter I want to go over, chapter 17. This is the famous David and Goliath story, but we're going to read the whole thing. There's a bit more detail you might not be aware of. Now the Philistines gathered their forces for war and assembled at Soko in Judah. They pitched camp at Ephes Damim between Soko and Azekah. Saul and the Israelites assembled and camped in the valley of Elah and drew up their battle line to meet the Philistines. The Philistines occupied one hill and the Israelites another, with the valley between them. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. His height was 6 cubits and his span. He had a bronze helmet on his head and wore a coat of scale armor of bronze weighing 5,000 shekels. On his legs he wore bronze greaves, and a bronze javelin was slung on his back. Excuse me. His spear shaft was like a weaver's rod, and its iron point weighed 600 shekels. His spear bearer went ahead of him. Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us." Then the Philistines said, "This day I defy the armies of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other." On hearing the Philistines' words, Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. Now David was the son of an Ephrathite named Jesse, who was from Bethlehem in Judah. Jesse had 8 sons, and in Saul's time he was very old. Jesse's 3 oldest sons had followed Saul to the war. The firstborn was Eliab, the second Abinadab, and the third Shammah. David was the youngest. The 3 oldest followed Saul, but David went back and forth from Saul to tend his father's sheep at Bethlehem. For 40 days, the Philistine came forward every morning and evening and took his stand. So he was stating this challenge every day for 40 days, morning and evening. Now Jesse said to his son David, "Take this ephah of roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread for your brothers and hurry to their camp. Take along these 10 cheeses to the commander of their unit. See how your brothers are and bring back some assurance from them. They are with Saul and all the men of Israel in the valley of Elah fighting against the Philistines." Early in the morning, David left the flock in the care of a shepherd, loaded up, and set out as Jesse had directed. He reached the camp as the army was going out to its battle positions, shouting the war cry. Israel and the Philistines were drawing up their lines facing each other. David left his things with the keeper of supplies, ran to the battle lines, and asked his brothers how they were. As he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, stepped out from his lines and shouted his usual defiance, and David heard it. So this is the first time David's hearing. Remember, he wasn't there. The 3 oldest sons were here. David's hearing this for the first time. Whenever the Israelites saw the man, they all fled from him in great fear. So the Israelites are terrified of Goliath. Now the Israelites had been saying, "Do you see how this man keeps coming out? He comes out to defy Israel. The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give him his daughter in marriage and will exempt his family from taxes in Israel." David asked the men standing near him, "What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" They repeated to him what they had been saying and told him, "This is what will be done for the man who kills him." When Eliab David's oldest brother heard him speaking with the men, he burned with anger at him and asked, "Why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle." "Now what have I done?" said David. "Can't I even speak?" He then turned away to someone else and brought up the same matter, and the men answered him as before. When David saw what David said was overheard and reported to Saul, and Saul sent for him. So notice how everybody's freaking out, but what's David's reaction? He says, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" So while everyone's freaking out, like, "Oh my gosh, look how big this guy is. He's terrifying. Who can fight this guy? He's so big." David's like, "Who does this guy think he is that he thinks he can defy the armies of the living God?" So Saul hears that. Hold on, where was it? Yeah. What David said was overheard and reported to Saul, and Saul sent for him. David said to Saul, "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Saul replied, "You were not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You were only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." But David said to Saul, "Your servant has been..." And when he says your servant, he's talking about himself. "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion, the paw of the bear, will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." The Bible doesn't say that God appeared to David at any point and told him, "Hey, go beat Goliath. I'm going to be with you, and I'm going to help you beat him." He was just so righteously indignant that this guy had the audacity to defy the armies of the living God. He's like, "Oh, no one's going to go there? I'll do it then." It's like the same God that protected me from the lion and the bear. And it sounded like he straight up defeated these lions and bears with his bare hands. He's like, I'm going to beat this Philistine the same way. Like, his faith was so strong. He had so much faith in God. He's this little guy. He's not trained in the ways of war. He's a shepherd. And he's like, "I'm going to beat this Philistine. God will deliver him into my hand." Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." So again, another scenario where Saul didn't have faith, but David did. Though I'm not going to lie, in this, Saul's already messed up twice, and he's already been told, like, God has rejected him as king. So I'm not even sure if Saul's faith here would have changed too much at this point. Maybe it would have. I don't know. But he's already messed up pretty significantly. Then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. He put a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened on the sword over the tunic and tried walking around because he was not used to them. "I cannot go in these," he said to Saul, "because I'm not used to them." So he took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag, and with his sling in his hand, approached the Philistine. Meanwhile, the Philistine with a shield bearer in front of him kept coming closer to David. He looked David over and saw that he was little more than a boy, glowing with health and handsome, and he despised him. He said to David, "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. "Come here," he said, "and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals." David said to the Philistine, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. This very day I'll give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel." So I just want to point out, he is really close to this gigantic guy who visually, by all forms of human logic, he has no chance against. God has not appeared to him to tell him, "Oh, you're going to beat this guy. Like, I'm with you. You're going to defeat him. I'm going to help you." Like, he is just so upset that this guy dared to defy the armies of the living God. And he's just so sure, like, God is going to be with him here. Even though God hasn't, the Bible doesn't say God told him anything. He's just so confident God is with him in this fight that he, before even receiving any kind of sign, any sort of indication, any sort of visual proof or evidence that we human beings tend to rely on because it's so hard for us to have faith, he is already confidently talking down to this giant like, "You are going to lose. God is going to deliver you into my hand." Instead of cowering with fear like everybody else is who isn't even in the fight. He's in the fight alone. Like, no armor or anything. He's just got his sling. And he's still so confidently talking down to this giant because he has faith in God. I mean, that's the kind of faith that we need to aspire for. That's very strong faith. "All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands." So he's basically straight up saying that I don't need all this. I don't need to be big or have a sword or spear to defeat you. I just need God. And by me beating you, it's going to prove that God is really all we need. That God is greater than your size or your spear or your sword. As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. So David's rushing him head on. He's not even remotely afraid. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sank into his forehead and he fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Without a sword in his hand, he struck down the Philistine and killed him. David ran and stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it from the sheath. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they turned and ran. Then the men of Israel and Judah surged forward with a shout and pursued the Philistines to the entrance of Gath and to the gates of Ekron. Their dead were strewn along the Shaaraim road to Gath and Ekron. When the Israelites returned from chasing the Philistines, they plundered their camp. David took the Philistine's head and brought it to Jerusalem. He put the Philistines' weapons in his own tent. As Saul watched David going out to meet the Philistine, he said to Abner, commander of the army, "Abner, whose son is that young man?" Abner replied, "As surely as you live, your majesty, I don't know." The king said, "Find out whose son this young man is." As soon as David returned from killing the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, with David still holding the Philistine's head. "Whose son are you, young man?" Saul asked him. David said, "I am the son of your servant, Jesse of Bethlehem." So there you go, just a bit of detail on David. Everybody knows about the story of David and Goliath, that obviously, you know, it's the little guy, it's the underdog story that the little guy manages to take down the giant. But I don't think people talk enough about the faith as well. Because I think a lot of times in our life, when we're in difficult situations, we want a sign. We want God to appear to us and tell us, hey, everything's going to be okay. Hey, you know, I know things are bad, but just, you know, obey my will and I'm going to take care of you. Don't worry about these terrible situations. I got you. And granted, I mean, if you just read the Bible, I mean, there are promises in there that you put your faith in and you know God's got you. For example, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, all these things shall be added to you, referring to like food and clothes. Like God will take care of your basic needs as long as you put him first. So obviously, as long as we obey our side of the promise, God will fulfill his, because he is faithful and just. He will always fulfill his side of the promise. But aside from that, we need to learn to be able to have faith like David, that even when things look really bad, that we need to be able to press on and do what God wants us to do, even no matter how terrifying it is and no matter how hopeless it may appear to be. Because we know that greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. As long as we have faith in God, he will not let us down. He will never leave us nor forsake us, right? So we always have to put him first and trust him, put our faith and hope in him. And don't be like Saul, whose faith was conditional, that he would do things God's way as long as things looked good. But once things started looking scary, then all of a sudden he takes matters into his own hands, thinking that that'll make things better and he can win the fight, and he ends up being punished for it. Or when he is given a very clear command to do something, but then when he actually goes and does it, he gets a bit greedy, or maybe he caves into his soldiers, who they want these like really good cattle, and he caves in and he accepts them, thinking that he can just give them some of them as sacrifices to God and everything's okay. That he knows better than God. He's like, oh, you know, I know better than God because look at these good sacrifices that God would let go to waste if we fulfill his command. No, like God, these animals are so good. We shouldn't kill them all. I'm going to save some of them and sacrifice them to you to make you happy, and then we'll keep some for ourselves. Like, no, like Samuel says, obedience is greater than sacrifice. Rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance like the sin of idolatry. It's very, very serious. So always do things God's way. Whatever he says to do, do it. Don't ever think you know better. Don't ever think that you can just give something to God to make up for disobeying him. I mean, obviously, you know, we're not perfect. We're going to fall. When you fall, then, you know, we take accountability. We admit to God we sinned. We ask for forgiveness, and we try very hard not to do that again. But don't walk into sin expecting, oh, yeah, I'm going to go do this, and then I'm just going to give this thing to God later, and it'll be all good. That's not how it works. Obedience is greater than sacrifice. And we saw that Saul's son, Jonathan, was a very good example of faith, where Saul is terrified of going into battle with just him and the 600 troops when they're terribly outnumbered. But literally just Jonathan with his armor bearer, just 2 people, is able to go up there and win a fight against 20, which drives the entire Philistine army into confusion and friendly fire, attacking each other. And the Israelites win the battle because of that, because of Jonathan's faith. And then later, because of David's faith, they're able to beat Goliath and the rest of the Philistines here. God was really trying to send a message to Israel that you're not going to win by numbers. You win by putting faith in me. Put me first. And it's no different for us. We have to put faith in God, even when things look scary, even when things look hopeless, even when it's not visually clear how we're going to make it, how things are going to work out. Put faith in God, trust in him, and always do things his way. Never take matters into your own hands. Always do things his way. Never disobey God because you think you know better, or because you think it's a better path, or you think you can make it up to God by doing some little thing afterwards. No, always, always, always obey God and do things his way. Always. And have faith in him. Everything will be okay. That's it. I think that's kind of the big message with today's readings. That's all I've got for today. If there's no questions or concerns, I think we will wrap up early. And then I will get to work. Yo, RJ, thank you for the heart me. Appreciate it. Thank you for that support, my friend. And Big X Darth Monkey. Good night, Atlas. Have a good one. All right, we'll wrap things up here then. If you enjoyed the stream, make sure you don't forget to follow. I do stream every single day starting at 2 p.m. Central and 4 p.m. Central. Follow so you don't miss out. Tomorrow we'll be back to Pragmata, God willing. But that's going to be it for tonight. Dream, Drew, Diego, Atlas, Jan, Nicole, Salad, Aruzel, Hunter, RJ, Janaz. God bless. Love very much, but Jesus loves you more. I'll see you in the Discord and in future lives. Have a good one. Bye-bye.